Hey, hello, everybody. It's Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net, and I am looking at what's going to be going on from the end of May until the beginning of July with the planet Mars, the warrior god, in his home sign of Aries. So I have a chart here that shows him at 0 Aries, 0 minutes, and it's cast with 0 Aries on the ascendant so that you can apply this wherever you are on the planet. The geography is not important. The house placements are not important. I just want to talk about the journey that Mars is going to have until the beginning of July and what this might mean for all of us. Now, let's start with some keywords. Mars is the planet of action. I call him the cosmic first responder. He's a superhero. He is the god of war, and he likes to move, and it's the masculine impulse, the assertive forward motion, the drive that each of us has to go off and do things. He is at his peak when he is in his home sign. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is impulsive. It is self-starting. It does not wait for anyone to tell it what to do. It doesn't ask questions. It just barges on in. So Mars in Aries brings a tremendous amount of bravado, of gumption, of what used to be called daring do. It is great courage, bravery, foolhardiness, arrogance. This is leaping without looking, shooting, and then asking questions, and maybe not even asking questions. It is combative, boisterous, high energy, doesn't like to sit still, very independent, not a team player, Mars in Aries. And Captain Kirk is another way of putting it, likes to be the leader, likes to be the one off doing whatever it wants on its own. There is an element of non-premeditated with it, simply impulsive and going for it, whatever it may be. And you see that Mars entered Aries in the evening of the day with the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. And it's pretty soon after, in its first few hours, it met up with the moon, and people kind of caught on fire. People have been very passionate. So there was a collective experience to his entering this sign. And I should point out, actually, one other thing. Mars has a 2-year cycle. And so it's been about 2 years since he's been in this sign. This begins a new 2-year cycle. And by the way, I also have my back door open, and you will hear animal noises. You will hear disturbances. Somehow it seems appropriate. So we've just got that as a backdrop. So there is a beginning of a 2-year cycle, and whatever's going on at this moment is going to kind of propel us into this cycle. And you'll notice that there's a lot of energy in Aries as he moves into it. Mars, the moon, which is the collective, and everybody's kind of like the emotional temperature of the time. Jupiter, the guy that touches everything, with the golden touch, who makes everything bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then Chiron, the wounded healer. Chiron in Aries. I'll talk about each of these in detail when I talk about Mars having conversations with them all, but just Chiron in Aries is a the abiding wound, but wherever it is transiting, it has a lot to do here now with issues of not being able to delegate, issues of jumping in and feeling like you can't rely on anybody else. And also Chiron in Aries, to me, I have seen as kind of like the signature for toxic masculinity, which may play a role in this. And then you'll notice that Venus, goddess of love, is also in Aries. Now, Venus is our social mode, wherever she is in the sky, has a lot to do with how people are getting along or not. And Venus in Aries is extremely active. Venus can be a somewhat passive, I will say what I want and I'll just lie here and let you go get it for me kind of energy. She does rule Taurus, which is where she's heading. But when Mars moved into his home sign, Venus was already there. She's in huntress mode in Aries. This is, I'm not waiting for anybody to go get what I want. I am going for it. And also is an indicator of very strong female energy or feminine energy. Now, also, you'll probably find some people talking about Eris also being in Aries. That is something that I don't follow, but Eris is the goddess of discord. So just factor that into here in the back of your mind. All right. So we've got the most masculine drive in the sky entering his home sign, which is not nuanced at all. There are no niceties. It's very rough, very raw, very I want, bam, I'm going to go get. And our desires, the way we interact, are also in that mode, about to end. Venus and Mars will not touch. She will leave the sign by the time Mars gets around to where she has been. So what is happening? Well, the first thing that happens, as I mentioned, is Mars meets the moon and everybody gets all inflamed, and that certainly has been happening. And then on the 29th, Mars meets Jupiter at well, by then it'll be at 3 degrees. Now, Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. And the last time that Mars's 2-year cycle and Jupiter's 12-year cycle coincided at the beginning of Aries was January 1940. So I leave it to you to go prowl around and figure out what was set in motion at that time. But let's just play keywords. I've already given you a whole bunch of them for Mars. Jupiter is the guy who ups the ante of any action that he gets near. He's the one that eggs people on. He is an extraordinarily optimistic, can be a very beneficent influence, but you can think of him as like bellows, if you know what those look like, pumping a situation. It's a magnifying and amplifying and exaggerating, a going overboard influence. Mars and Jupiter coming together in Aries is like flame accelerant. One image I have used for it has been eating a case of Popeye's spinach with a bunch of chasers of an energy drink, Red Bull, Monster, whatever it is that gets you going. So this just means a lot more of whatever Mars is up to. So a lot more of people fighting, a lot more of bravery, a lot more of anger, a lot more of aggression, a lot more of action, a lot more of, oh, I don't know, maybe people taking the streets. There is a lot of positive potential in this. Definitely for each of us as individuals, this is really energizing, get off your duff and go do something energy. So if you've been sitting around kind of in a torpor for the past few months, some people might say years, but definitely with the really heavy Piscean influence that we had earlier in this year, this is get out of the water, shake it off, and you're like a dog that's just running loose after having been swimming in a lake or something, or running through a sprinkler in a lawn. So terrifically energizing, something that says, get going, get moving. I want to blam, whatever blam is for you. And it also has a component of not caring what anybody else thinks, not thinking about anybody else possibly having a say in things. So there's a lot of daring and willingness to risk that comes from this. Venting it through physical activity is one very prudent way of dealing with this. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, there might be some other stuff I don't quite like with this. And yes, indeed, you will notice that there will be fighting. aggression. I will don't engage. All right. If someone comes at you who seems hell-bent on getting into a scrap with you, get out of the way. Go do something else. This is not energy that's going to talk sense into someone. So there could be a lot of really heated arguments that happen, and possibly much worse. So definitely pick your battles and use this energy for your own good purposes, and know that it's a kind of kicking off what the next couple of years will feel like to you. So it's really tremendous instigating energy. Tremendous. Now, the next thing that we need to look at is then Mars trundles along, bam, and he hits Chiron, and this is June 14th. So could be a lot of men acting out at that point, a lot of evidence of certain forceful, argumentative streaks in modern culture and their shortcomings, not really getting anywhere. There is the potential for some resolution and healing along with this, actually. It doesn't have to be something catastrophic or disastrous. And again, this could help you overcome any kind of hesitation you have about acting on your own or taking bold action or being a leader, being independent, doing things without worrying about what other people think, an issue for a lot of people. And I would expect that the news is going to be really, really filled with men throwing temper tantrums. So just be on the lookout for that. The next thing that happens is Mars is going to hit, when it gets to 25 degrees Aries, Venus isn't going to be there anymore, but what will? Oh my, look, Saturn. So on the 27th of June, Mars is going to be in a sextile with Saturn. These are two masculine influences. Mars likes to just go, 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 go. Saturn says, take your time, be careful, put structure on it. And a sextile opens a doorway, opens a window, has an outstretched hand, makes an offer. Something is put in reach. Effort is required to make it happen. Maybe something stabilizes. Maybe there's an opportunity to calm some things down. Maybe there's an opportunity to take all kinds of, I don't know, angry people and collectivize, unionize, join together, create some kind of collective, that would be the Aquarius of where Saturn is, approach to things. There may be a moment, a possibility of individuals actually getting somewhere with authority figures, that being Saturn. Or maybe there'll just be an open doorway for people to be tossing tomatoes and possibly something worse at authority. And then the next thing, as Mars gets toward the end of Aries, it meets up with Pluto. Pluto is the gatekeeper right now, meaning that it's the planet of latest degree, the outer planet of latest degree. He's parked at the end of Capricorn, and anytime a planet, any other planet, or the sun or the moon, anytime anything like that changes signs, anytime a planet like that changes signs, and this must be important if my phone went off and decided it wanted to make this little sound. And today, since I am saving sounds, you get to experience it with me. it has to contact Pluto. So every planet that changes signs contacts Pluto on the way out the door. Pluto is a transformative energy. It is the agent of unavoidable change, evolutionary level change. Pluto is the god of death and rebirth. He's also the guy with the scythe. Come in contact with Pluto, and sometimes something gets cut away. Pluto is the lord of the underworld. He rules secrets. He rules things that are hidden in deep, dark places, huge amounts of money, big power games off behind the scenes, and things that are going on in our subconscious, in our psyches that we're not consciously aware of. So there are kind of phobic drivers or compulsive drivers that are involved with Pluto. Mars is going to square Saturn on July 1st. That's a fun time. And a square is a demand for action. So, God of War is going to slam against the God of Death. Before you go, I think I'll stay in bed all day. I will remind you, we have lived through this recently. Mars was in Aries in 2020 for a very, very long time. From the end of June 2020 into the first week or so of January 2021. Basically July through December for the most part. And Mars squared Pluto 3 times. Mid-August 2020, early October 2020, and around Christmas 2020. So we've lived through it. It's not the end of the world. And it wasn't carnage everywhere in your life when that happened. It's going to have the force of a battering ram. Pluto in Capricorn has been redoing the infrastructure of our lives, all of our foundations, our institutions, government, banking systems, Capricorn. And we can't forget that this year, 2022, Pluto is moving back and forth across the position of Pluto in the US Declaration of Independence chart, which is just one of many charts you can use for defining the country. And the Pluto return has 3 passes. One of them was in February, and the next one is late June, early July. And in fact, when Mars completes that square, Pluto, which is retrograde, see that RX, will have moved back to 27 degrees. So it will happen at 27 degrees Aries squaring 27 degrees Capricorn. It's like, again, a force of a battering ram. There could be things that really challenge all kinds of institutions internationally, roles of governments, roles of existing power. In your own life, there will be something going on that is furthering the process of redoing, rebuilding, restructuring your whole foundations, family, long-standing family situations, traditions, ancestral roles. There's often a passing of the mantle from one generation to the other when this happens. So we're already seeing things building now that are probably going to play a role. And keep in mind, we saw this again in February. Pluto was in the spot, and this is also involving when this happens, when Mars is at 27 Aries and squaring Pluto at 27 Capricorn. Mars is going to be on, no, sorry, sextile. The moon in the July 4, 1776 chart. The moon in the Declaration of Independence chart is at 27 Aquarius. So that's where the moon is. And Saturn will be retrograde, so it won't be on it, but the moon's in Aquarius, and so Mars will be sextiling that and then squaring. There will be some big collective thing happening about how we all get along, and notions of equality and community. And you might be singing Let the Sun Shine In from Hair, or you might be singing Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. There's no telling, when there needs to be a crack because that's how the light gets in, kind of thinking. On a personal level, this will be a time when you can push somewhere. It's a David versus Goliath kind of vibe when Mars, which will be down here, when Mars squares Pluto, bam, that's the walls of Jericho falling down. That's the little guy hitting something that's been already destabilized so much that bam, it comes down, or it changes, or something collapses, or something implodes. This can all be metaphoric. Remember, we lived through this 3 times in 2020. And if you're listening to this, you are still standing. So this does not mean it's going to be absolutely awful. It will be energizing, and you can use all this to get somewhere really, really big. But know that the stresses that you have been seeing, the fractures that you have been seeing collectively out in the world, in the news, with the factionalism, the people who would like to roll the clock back and undo anything progressive, or change the balance of power, or take rights away from anybody, or start to quote people who, I don't know, hunted and burned witches as some kind of arbiters for current women's rights. Yes, I have a slight bias in this. I also have a law degree. You will see that there will be major activity pushing possibly in both directions at the beginning of July. And it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter as we get toward it. Possible that this means that there will be, this goes beyond investigations. Mars in Aries doesn't investigate. Mars in Aries fights. So the fact that select committee hearings are happening in the US Congress while Mars is on the beginning part of this journey, means that it's going to be a very, very interesting 6 weeks. And I don't know, this is really going to help. All the heat will definitely help the popcorn that many people are going to be consuming as a result. So just keep in mind, everybody's going to be hot-headed. This includes you. Pick your battles. Use this firepower to further your own life, your own creativity, to fight for things you believe in. And fighting doesn't have to mean slugging somebody in the face, okay? It can be taking action, doing something to put your feet on the ground, to back something that's important to you. This is running into burning buildings kind of valor, all right? We all have this on tap in the next 6 weeks. Make the best use of it. Enjoy it. Think now about where you want to direct it so that you don't squander this or spend it on somebody else's battle. Unfortunately, the phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys. Well, I think we all have monkeys right now, and we're getting pulled into other people's circuses. So pay attention to what is yours and what you really value. The influences that have been in Capricorn in the last, or affecting that Pluto in Capricorn in the last couple of years, have made it infinitely clearer to you about what your priorities are, what is most important to you, and also encouraged streamlining your own existence. So know that you'll have an incredible amount of energy. You already do have an incredible amount of energy at your disposal. You could burn out. Pace yourself. Not going to be easy to do. Take time out and go jogging, do something outside, spend the energy burning it off out of your body. You'll sleep better and actually try to have some fun with it as well. All right, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, visit my site, empowermentunlimited.net, or this channel. I have weekly podcasts. I have a forecast for every month and every new and full moon. And the June forecast is already up. I also have a lot of information at patreon.com/Kathy Beal. And on Facebook, Empowerment Unlimited is my main page. And there's a lot of political commentary and commentary about the news in the group, the Astro Insight Lounge. So play nice, stay safe.